Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to this weekly Krishna book reading on the very auspicious day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur disappearance day. And it happens to be the last day of the year 2023. So we are very fortunate to be here in Vrindavan, and that too in Prabhupada's quarter, Prabhupada room, reading this service of reading Krishna book for the pleasure of Krishna and Prabhupada. And I welcome you heartily to you all, and we will read today chapter 63, Lord Krishna's fight with Banasura. So at the end of every chapter, we will say Hari Bol, and we will proceed as paragraph, and nobody will jump to the paragraph automatically without consent. So let's start with the book reading by chanting Prabhupada mantra. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. And to each other, Vancha Kalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Vahevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. 63 Mataji. Lord Krishna fight with Banasura. When the 4 months of the rainy season passed and Aniruddha has still not returned home, all the members of the Yadu family became much perturbed. They could not understand how the boy was missing. Fortunately, one day the great sage Narada came and informed the family about the Aniruddha's disappearance from the palace. He explained how Aniruddha had been carried to the city of Sonitapura, the capital of Banasura's empire, and how Banasura had arrested him with the Naga Pasha. Even though Aniruddha had defeated his soldiers, this news was given in detail by Narada, and the whole story was disclosed. Then the members of the Yadu dynasty, all of whom had great affection for Krishna, prepared to attack the city of Sonitapura. Practically all the leaders of the family, including Pradyumna, Satyaki, Gada, Samba, Sarana, Nanda, Akshuni, Upasananda and Bhadra, combined together and gathered 12 Akshuni military divisions into phalanxes. Then they all went of Sonitapura and surrounded it with soldiers, elephants, horses and chariots.
Banasura heard the soldiers of Yadu dynasty were attacking the whole city, tearing down various walls, gates and nearby gate garden. Becoming very angry, he immediately ordered his soldiers, who were equally clamber, to go to face them. Lord Shiva was so kind to Banasura that he personally came as the commander-in-chief of the military force, assisted by his heroic sons Kartikeya and Ganpati. Nandini's server, Lord Shiva, seated on his favorite bull, led the fighting against the Lord Krishna and Balaram. We can simply imagine how furious the fighting was. Lord Shiva with his valiant sons on one side and Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, and his elder brother, Sri Balaram Ji, on the other side. The fighting was so furious that those who saw the battle were struck with wonder, and the hairs of their bodies stood up. Lord Shiva was engaged in fighting directly with Lord Krishna. Pradyumna was engaged with Kartika, and Lord Balaram was engaged with Banasura, commander-in-chief Kumbhananda, who was assisted by Krsna. Samba, the son of Krishna, fought the son of Banasura, and Banasura fought Satyaki, commander-in-chief of Yadu dynasty. In this way, the fighting was weighed.
News of the fighting spread all over the universe. Demigods such as Lord Brahma from higher planetary systems, along with great sages and saintly persons, Siddhas, Charanas and Gandharvas, all being very curious to see the fight between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna and their assistants, hovered over the battlefield in their airplane. Lord Shiva is called Bhutanada because he is assisted by various types of powerful ghosts and denizens of the inferno. Bhutas, Pretas, Brahmatas, Guhyakas, Dakinis, Pikshachas, Kusmandas, Vetalas, Vinayakas and Brahma Rakshasas. Of all kinds of ghosts, the Brahma Rakshasas are very powerful. They are Brahmanas who after death have entered the ghostly species of life.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, simply drove all these ghosts away from the battlefield with the arrows from his celebrated bow, Shringi, Shranga Dhanur. Lord Shiva then began to release all his selected weapons against the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, without any difficulty. Counteracted all these weapons with counter weapons. He counteracted the Brahmastra similar to the atomic bomb with another Brahmastra and an air weapon with a mountain weapon. When Lord Shiva released a particular weapon, bringing about a violent hurricane on the battlefield, Lord Krishna presented just the opposite element, a mountain weapon, which checked the hurricane on the spot. Similarly, when Lord Shiva released his weapon of devastating fire, Krishna counteracted it with the torrents of rain.
At last, when Lord Shiva released his personal weapon, the Pashupata Astra, Krishna immediately counteracted it with the Narayana Shastra. Lord Shiva then became exasperated in fighting with Lord Krishna. Krishna then took the opportunity to release his waning weapon. When his weapon is released, the opposing party becomes tired, stops fighting, and begins to wane. Consequently, Lord Shiva became so fatigued that he refused to fight anymore and began waning. Krishna was now able to turn his attention from the attack of Lord Shiva to the efforts of Banasura, and he began to kill Banasura's personal soldiers with swords and clubs. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna was fighting fiercely with Kartikeya, the commander-in-chief of the demigods. Kartikeya was wounded, and his body was bleeding profusely. In this condition, he left the battlefield and, without fighting anymore, rode away on the back of his peacock carrier. Similarly, Lord Balram smashed Banasura's commander-in-chief Kumbandha with the strokes of his club. Kupakarna was also wounded in this way, and both he and Kumbandha fell on the battlefield. Kumbandha being fatally wounded, without guidance, all of Banasura's soldiers scattered here and there.
When Banasura saw that his soldiers and commanders had been defeated, his anger only increased. He thought it wise to stop fighting with Satyaki, Krishna's commander-in-chief, and instead directly attack Lord Krishna. Now, having the opportunity to use his 1,000 arms. He rushed towards Krishna, simultaneously working 500 bows and 2,000 arrows. Such a foolish person could never measure Krishna's strength. Immediately, without difficulty, Krishna cut each of Banasura's bows into 2 pieces and to check him from going further, made the horses of his chariot lie on the ground so that the chariot broke to pieces. After doing this, Krishna blew his conch shell Panchajanya.
There was a demigoddess named Kotara who was worshipped by Banasura, and their relationship was a mother and son. Mother Kotara was upset that Banasura's wife was in danger, so she appeared on the scene with naked body and scattered hair. She stood before Lord Krishna. Sri Krishna did not like the sight of this naked woman, and to avoid seeing her, he turned his face. Banasura, getting this chance to escape Krishna's attack, left the battlefield. All the strings of his bows had been broken, and there was no chariot or driver. So he had no alternative but to return to the city. He lost everything in the battle.
Being greatly harassed by the arrows of Krishna, all the associates of Lord Shiva, the Hogbatsing, and the ghostly Bhutas, Pitas, and Kshatriyas left their battlefield. Lord Shiva then took to his last resort. He released his greatest death weapon, known as Shivjara, which destroys all excessive heat. It is said that at the end of creation, the sun becomes 12 times more scorching than usual. This 12 times hotter temperature is called Shivjara. When Shivjara personified was released, he had 3 heads and the 3 legs, and as he came toward Krishna, it appeared that he was burning everything to ashes. He was so powerful that he made blazing fire appear in all directions, and Krishna observed that he was specially coming toward him.
As there is a Svajara weapon, there is also a Narayana Jvara weapon, which is represented by excessive cold. When there is excessive heat, one can somehow or other tolerate it, but when there is excessive cold, everything collapses. This is actually experienced by a person at the time of death. At the time of death, the temperature of the body first of all increases to 107 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the whole body collapses and immediately becomes as cold as ice. To counteract the scorching heat of the Sivajvara, there is no other weapon but the Narayana Jvara.
Therefore, when Lord Krishna saw that the Shiva Jvara had been released by Lord Shiva, he had no recourse other than to release the Narayana Jvara. Lord Sri Krishna is the original Narayan and the controller of the Narayana Jvara weapon. When the Narayana Jvara was released, there was a great fight between the 2 Jvaras. When excessive heat is counteracted by the extreme cold, it is natural for the hot temperature to gradually reduce. And this is what occurred in the fight between the Shiva Jvara and the Narayana Jvara. Gradually, the Shiva Jvara's temperature diminished and the Shiva Jvaras began to cry for help from Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva was unable to help him in the presence of the Narayana Jvara. Unable to get any help from Lord Shiva, the Shiva Jvara could understand that he had no means of escape outside of surrendering unto Narayana, Lord Krishna himself. Lord Shiva, the greatest of the demigods, could not help him, what to speak of the lesser demigods. And therefore, the Shiva Jvara ultimately surrendered unto Krishna. bowing before him and offering a prayer so that the Lord might be pleased and give him the protection.
This incident of the fight between the ultimate weapons of Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna proves that if Krishna gives someone protection, no one can kill him. And if Krishna does not give one protection, no one can save him. Lord Shiva is called Mahadev, the greatest of all the demigods. Although sometimes Lord Brahma is considered the greatest of all the demigods because he can create. However, Lord Shiva can annihilate the creations of Brahma. Still, both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva act only in one capacity. Lord Brahma can create and Lord Shiva can annihilate, but neither of them can maintain. Lord Vishnu, however, not only maintains but creates and annihilates also. Factually, the creation is not affected by Brahma because Brahma himself is created by Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva is created or born of Brahma. The Shivajara thus understood that without Krishna or Narayan, no one could help him. He therefore rightly took shelter of Lord Krishna and with folded hands began to pray as follows.
My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you have unlimited potencies. No one can surpass your potencies, and thus you are the Lord of everyone. Certainly, people consider Lord Shiva the most powerful personality in the material world. But Lord Shiva is not all powerful. You are all powerful. This is factual. You are the original consciousness or knowledge. Without knowledge or consciousness, nothing can be powerful. A material thing may be very powerful, but without the touch of consciousness, it cannot act. A material machine may be gigantic and wonderful, but without the touch of someone conscious and in knowledge, the material machine is useless for all purposes. My Lord, you are complete knowledge and there is not a pinch of material contamination in your personality. Lord Shiva may be a powerful demigod because of this specific power to annihilate the whole creation, and similarly Lord Brahma may be very powerful because he can create the entire universe. But actually you are the absolute truth. कहाँ है? आगे है कोई बात नहीं. You are the absolute truth, the supreme Brahma, and you are the original cause. The original cause, the cosmic manifestation, is not the impersonal Brahma. Effulgence, the impersonal Brahman effulgence rests on your personality. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the cause of the impersonal Brahman is Lord Krishna. This Brahman effulgence is likened to the sunshine, which emanates from the sun globe. Therefore, impersonal Brahman is not the ultimate cause. The ultimate cause of everything is the supreme eternal form of Krishna. All material actions and reactions take place in the impersonal Brahman. But in the personal Brahman, the eternal form of Krishna, there is no action and reaction.
This Sivajwara continued, "Therefore, my Lord, your body is completely peaceful, completely blissful, and devoid of all material contamination. In the material body, there are actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. The time factor is the most important element above all others because the material manifestation is affected by the agitation of time. Thus, natural phenomena came into existence, and as soon as phenomena appear, fruitive activities are visible. As the result of these fruitive activities, a living entity takes his form. He acquires a particular nature packed up in a subtle body and gross body formed by the life air, the ego, and 10 senses organs, the mind, and the 5 gross elements. These then create the type of body which later becomes the root cause of various other bodies, which are acquired by one and after another by means of the transmigration of the soul. All these phenomenal manifestations are the combined action of your material energy. You, however, are the cause of this external energy, and thus you remain unaffected by the actions and reaction of the different elements. And because you are transcendental to such compulsions of material energy, you are the supreme tranquility. You are the last word in freedom from material contamination. I therefore take shelter at your lotus feet, giving up all other shelter."
My dear Lord, your appearance as the son of Vasudev in your role as a human being is one of the pastime of your complete freedom to benefit your devotees and vanquish the non-devotees. You appear in multi-incarnation. All such incarnation descended in fulfillment of your promise in the Bhagavad Gita that you appear as soon as there are discrepancy in the system of progressive life. When there are disturbance by the irregular principle, my dear Lord, you appear by your internal potency. Your main business is to protect and maintain the demigod and spiritual inclined persons, and to maintain the standard of material law and order. Considering your mission of maintaining such law and order, you violence toward the miscreants and demons is quite befitting. This is not the first time you have incarnated. It is to be understood that you have done so many times before.
My dear Lord, I beg to submit that I have been very greatly chastised by the release of your Narayana Jvara, which is certainly very cooling, yet at the same time severely dangerous and unbearable for all of us. My dear Lord, as long as one is forgetful of Krishna consciousness, driven by the spell of material desires, and ignorant of the ultimate shelter at your lotus feet, one who has accepted this material body becomes disturbed by the 3 miserable conditions of material nature. Because one does not surrender unto you, he continues to suffer perpetually. After hearing the Svajara, Lord Krishna replied, "O three-headed one, I am pleased with your statement, but be assured that there will be no more suffering for you from the Narayana Jvara. Not only are you now free from the fear of the Narayana Jvara, but anyone in the future who simply recollects the fighting between you and the Narayana Jara will also be freed from all kinds of fear." After hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Sivajvara offered respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet, and left.
In the meantime, Banasura somehow or other recovered from his setbacks and with rejuvenated energy returned to fight. This time, Banasura appeared before Lord Krishna, who was seated on his chariot with different kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. Very much agitated, Banasura splashed his different weapons upon the body of Lord Krishna like torrents of rain. When Lord Krishna saw the weapons of Banasura coming at him like water coming out of the strainer, he took his sharp-edged Sudarshana disc and began to cut off the demon's 1,000 arms one after another, just as a gardener trims the twigs of a tree with sharp cutters. When Lord Shiva saw that his devotee Banasura could not be saved even in his presence, he came to his senses and personally came before Lord Krishna and began to pacify him by offering the following prayers.
Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, you are the worshipable object of the Vedic hymns. One who does not know you considers the impersonal Brahma Jyoti to be the ultimate supreme absolute truth, without knowledge that you exist behind your spiritual effulgence in your eternal abode. My dear Lord, you are therefore called Param Brahman. Indeed, the words Param Brahman have been used in the Bhagavad Gita to identify you. Saintly persons who have completely cleansed their hearts of all material contamination can realize your transcendental form, although you are all pervading, like the sky, unaffected by any material thing. Only the devotees can realize you, and no one else. In the impersonalist conception of your supreme existence, the sky is just like your navel, fire is your mouth, and water is your semen. The heavenly planets are your head. All the directions are your ears. The earth, that is Urvi, is your lotus feet. The moon is your mind, and the sun is your eye. As far as I am concerned, I act as your ego. The ocean is your abdomen, and the king of heaven, Indra, is your arm. Trees and plants are the hairs on your body. The clouds are the hair on your head, and Lord Brahma is your intelligence. All the great progenitors known as Prajapatis are your symbolic representatives, and religion is your heart. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is conceived of in this way, but you are ultimately the supreme person. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is only a small expansion of your energy. You are likened to the original fire, and your expansions are its light and heat.
Lord Shiva continued, "My dear Lord, since you are manifested universally, the different parts of the universe are the different parts of your body, and by your inconceivable potency, you can simultaneously be both localized and universal. In the Brahma Samhita also find it stated that although you always remain in your abode, Goloka Vrindavan, you are present everywhere. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you appear in order to protect the devotees, and thus your appearance indicates good fortune for all the universe. All of the demigods are directing different affairs of the universe by your grace only. Thus, the 7 upper planetary systems are maintained by your grace. At the end of this creation, all manifestation of your energy, whether in the shape of demigods, human beings, or lower animals, enter into you, and all immediate and remote causes of the cosmic manifestation rest in you without distinctive features of existence. Ultimately, there is no possibility of distinction between you and any other thing or an equal level with you or subordinate to you. You are simultaneously the cause of the cosmic manifestation and its ingredients as well. You are the supreme whole, one without a second. In the phenomenal manifestation, there are 3 stages: the stage of consciousness, the stage of semi-consciousness in the dreaming, and the stage of unconsciousness. But your Lordship is transcendental to all these different material stages of existence. You exist, therefore, in a 4th dimension, and your appearance and disappearance do not depend on anything beyond yourself. You are the supreme cause of everything, but of you there is no cause. You yourself cause your own appearance and disappearance. Despite your transcendental position, my Lord, in order to show your 6 opulences and advertise your transcendental qualities, you have appeared in your different incarnations: fish, tortoise, boar, Narsinga, Keshava, and others by your personal manifestation. And you have appeared as different living entities by your separated manifestation. By your internal potency, you appear as the different incarnations of Vishnu, and by your external potency, you appear as the phenomenal word. Hare Krishna.
On a cloudy day, to the common man's eyes, the sun appears to be covered. But the fact is that because the sunshine creates the cloud, the sun can never actually be covered. Even though the whole sky may be cloudy, similarly, less intelligent men claim that there is no God. But when the manifestation of different living entities and their activities is visible, enlightened persons see you present in every atom through the medium of your external and marginal energies. Your unlimitedly potent activities are experienced by the most enlightened devotees, but those who are bewildered by the spell of your external energy identify themselves with this material world and become attached to society, friendship, and love. Thus they embrace the threefold miseries of material existence and are subjected to the dualities of pain and pleasure, sometimes drowning in the ocean of attachment and sometimes being taken out of it.
My dear Lord, only by your mercy and grace can the living entity get the human form of life, which is a chance to get out of this miserable condition of material existence. However, a person who possesses a human body but who cannot bring his senses under control is carried away by the waves of sensual enjoyment. As such, he cannot take shelter of your lotus feet and thus engage in devotional service. The life of such a person is very unfortunate, and everyone living such a life of darkness is certainly cheating himself. and thus cheating others also. Therefore, human society without Krishna consciousness is a society of cheaters and cheated.
My Lord, you are actually the dearmost super soul of all living entities and the supreme controller of everything. The human being who is always illusion is afraid of ultimate death. A man who is simply attached to sensual enjoyment voluntarily accepts the miserable material existence and thus wanders after the will-o-wisp of sense pleasure. He is certainly the most foolish man, for he drinks poison and puts aside the nectar. My dear Lord, all the demigods, including myself and Lord Brahma, as well as great saintly persons and sages who have cleansed their hearts of material attachment, have, by your grace, wholeheartedly taken shelter of your lotus feet. We have all taken shelter of you because we have accepted you as the Supreme Lord and the dearmost life and soul of all of us. You are the original cause of this cosmic manifestation. You are its supreme maintainer and you are the cause of its dissolution also. You are equal to everyone, the most peaceful supreme friend of every living entity. You are the supreme worshipable object for every one of us. My dear Lord, let us always be engaged in your transcendental loving service so that we may get free from this material entanglement.
Finally, my Lord, I may inform you that this Banasura very dear to me. He has rendered valuable service unto me. Therefore, I want to see him always happy. Being pleased with him, I have assured him safety. I pray to you, my Lord, that as you were pleased with his forefathers, King Prahlada and Bali Maharaj, you will also be pleased with him. After hearing Lord Shiva's prayer, Lord Krishna replied, My dear Lord Shiva, I accept your statements and I also accept your desire for Banasura. I know that this Banasura is the son of Bali Maharaj and as such I cannot kill him. For that is my promise. I gave a benediction to King Prahlad that the demons who would appear in his family would never be killed by me. Therefore, without killing this Banasura, I have simply cut off his arms to deprive him of his false prestige. The large number of soldiers he was maintaining because a burden on this earth, and I have killed them all to minimize the burden. Now he has 4 remaining arms and he will remain immortal, unaffected by material pains and pleasures. I know that he is one of the chief devotee of your lordship, so you can now rest assured that henceforward he need have no fear of anything.
When Banasura was blessed by Lord Krishna in this way, he came before the Lord and bowed down before him, touching his head to the earth. Banasura immediately arranged to have his daughter Usha seated with Anuruddha on a nice chariot, and then he presented them before Lord Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna took charge of Aniruddha and Usha, who had become very opulent materially because of the blessings of Lord Shiva. Thus, keeping forward a division of one Akshauhini of soldiers, Krishna proceeded toward Dwarika. In the meantime, all the people of Dwarika, having received the news that Lord Krishna was returning with Anuruddha and Usha in great opulence, decorated every corner of the city with flags, festoons, and garlands. All the big roads and crossings were carefully cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood pulp mixed with water. Everywhere was the fragrance of sandalwood. All the citizens joined with their friends and relatives to welcome Lord Krishna with great pomp and jubilation. And a tumultuous vibration of conch shells, drums, and bugles received the Lord. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, entered his capital, Dwarika.
Shukadev Goswami assured, assured King Parikshit that the narration of the fight between Lord Shiva and the Lord Krishna is not at all inauspicious, like ordinary fights. On the contrary, if one remembers in the morning the narration of this fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva and takes pleasure in the victory of Lord Krishna, he will never experience defeat anywhere in his struggle of life. This episode of Banasuras fighting with Krishna and later being saved by the grace of Lord Shiva is confirmation of the statement in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshippers of demigods cannot achieve any benediction without its being sanctioned by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Here in this narration, we find that although Banasur was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, when he faced death by Krishna, Lord Shiva was not able to save him. But Lord Shiva appealed to Lord Krishna to save his devotee. And this was sanctioned by the Lord. This is the position of Lord Krishna. The exact words used at this connection in the Bhagavad Gita are Maye Vihitan Hi Tan. This means that without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, no demigod can award any benediction to his worshipper. This ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 63rd chapter of Krishna. Lord Krishna fights with Banasura.
Chapter 64, the story of King Nriga. Once the family members of Lord Krishna, such as Samba, Pradyumna, Charu, Bhanu, and Gada, all princes of the Yaru dynasty, went for a long picnic in the forest near Dwarika. In the course of their excursion, all of them became thirsty, and so they tried to find out where water was available in the forest. When they approached a well, they found no water in it, but on the contrary, within the well was a wonderful living entity. It was a large lizard, and all of them were astonished to see such a wonderful animal. They could understand that the animal was trapped and could not escape by its own effort. So, out of compassion, they tried to take the large lizard out of the well. Unfortunately, they could not get the lizard out, even though they tried to do so in many ways.
When the princes returned home, their story was narrated before Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the friend of all living entity. Therefore, after hearing the appeal from his son, he personally went to the well and easily got the great lizard out simply by extending his left hand. Immediately upon being touched by the hand of Lord Krishna, the great lizard gave up his lizard shape and appeared as a beautiful demigod and inhabits of the heavenly planet. His complex glittering like molten gold. He was decorated with fine garments and he wore costly ornaments around his neck.
How the demigod had been obliged to accept the body of a lizard was not a secret to Lord Krishna. But still, for others' information, the Lord inquired, "My dear fortunate demigod, now I see that your body is so beautiful and lustrous. Who are you?" We can guess that you are one of the best demigods in the heavenly planets. All good fortune to you. I think that you are not meant to be in this situation. It must be due to the results of your past activities that you were put into the species of lizard life. Still, I want to hear from you how you were put into this position. If you think that you can disclose this secret, then please tell us your identity.
Actually, this large lizard was King Nriga, and when questioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he immediately bowed down before the Lord, touching to the ground the helmet on his head, which was as dazzling as the sunshine. In this way, he first offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord. He then said, "My dear Lord, I am King Nriga, the son of King Ishvaku. If you have ever taken account of all charitably disposed men, I am sure you must have heard my name. My Lord, you are the supreme witness. You are aware of every bit of work done by the living entities, past, present, and future. Nothing can be hidden from your eternal cognizance. Still, you have ordered me to explain my history, and I shall therefore narrate the full story."
King Nriga proceeded to narrate the history of his degradation caused by his karma kanda activities. He said that he had been very charitably disposed and had given away so many cows that the total was equal to the number of particles of dust on the earth, stars in the sky, or drops of water in a rainfall. According to the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, a man who is charitably disposed is recommended to give cows to the Brahmanas. From King Nriga's statement, it appears that he followed this principle earnestly. However, as a result of a slight discrepancy, he was forced to take birth as a lizard. Therefore, it is recommended by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita that one who is charitably disposed and desires to derive the benefit of his charity should offer his gifts to please Krishna. To give charity means to perform pious activities by which one may be elevated to the higher planetary systems. But promotion to the heavenly planets, it's no guarantee that one will never fall down. Rather, the example of King Nriga definitely proves that fruitive activities, even if very pious, cannot give us eternal blissful life. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the result of work, either pious or impious, is sure to bind a man unless the work is discharged as yajna on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
King Nriga said that cow he had given in charity were not ordinary cows. Each one was very young and has given birth to only one calf. They were full of milk, very peaceful and healthy. All cows were purchased with money earned legally. Furthermore, their horns were gold-plated, their hooves were bedecked with silver plating, and they were covered with necklaces and with silken wrappers embodied with pearls. He stated that these valuably decorated cows had been given to any worthless person but had been distributed to first class Brahmins, whom he had also decorated with nice garments and gold ornaments. The Brahmanas were well qualified, and since none of them were rich, their family members were always in want of necessities of life. A real Brahmana never hoards money for luxurious life, like Kshatriyas or Vaishya, but always keeps himself poverty-stricken, knowing that money diverts the mind to materialistic ways of life. To live in this way is a vow of qualified Brahmana, and all of these Brahmins were well situated in that exalted vow. They were well learned in Vedic knowledge. They executed the required austerities and penances in their lives and were liberal, meeting the standards of qualified Brahmins. They were equally friendly to everyone. Above all, they were young and quite fit to act as qualified Brahmanas. Beside the cows, they were also given land, gold, houses, horses and elephants. Those who were not married were given wives, maidservants, grains, silver, utensils, garments, jewels, household furniture, chariots, etc. This charity was nicely performed as a sacrifice according to Vedic rituals. The king also stated that not only he had bestowed gifts upon the Brahmanas, but he performed other pious activities such as digging wells, planting trees on roadside and installing ponds along the highways.
The king continued, in spite of all this, unfortunately one of the Brahmana's cow that I had given in charity chanced to enter amongst my other cows. Not knowing this, I again gave it in charity. To another Brahmana, as the cow was being taken away by the Brahmana, its former master claimed it as his own, stating, "This cow was formerly given to me, so how is it that you are taking it away?" Thus there was arguing and fighting between the two Brahmanas, and they came before me and charged that I had taken back a cow and I had previously given in charity. To give something to someone and then to take it back is considered a great sin, especially in dealing with the Brahmanas. When both Brahmanas charged the king with the same complaint, he was simply puzzled to how it had happened. Therefore, with great humility, the king offered each of them 1,00,000 cows in exchange for the one cow that was causing the fight between them. He prayed to them that he was their servant and that there had been some mistake. Thus, in order to rectify it, he prayed that they be very kind upon him and accept his offer in exchange for the cow. The king fervently and accept his offer in exchange for the cow. Appealed to the Brahmanas not to cause his downfall into hell because of this mistake. A Brahmanas properly is called Brahmaseva, and according to Manoj law, it cannot be acquired even by the government. Both Brahmanas, however, insisted that the cow was there and could not be taken back under any condition, neither of them agreed to exchange it for the 1 lakh cows. This disagreeing with the king's proposal, the two Brahmanas left the place in anger, thinking that their lawful position had been
After this incident, when the time came for the king to give up his body, he was taken before Yamaraja, the superintendent of death, who asked him whether he first wanted to enjoy the result of his pious activities or suffer the result of his impious activities. Seeing that the king had executed so many pious activities and charities, Yamaraj also hinted that he did not know the limit of king's future enjoyment. In other words, there would be practically no end to king's material happiness. But in spite of his hint, the king, bewildered, decided first to suffer the result of his impious activities and then to accept the result of his pious activities. Therefore, Yamaraja immediately turned him into a lizard.
King Narga had remained in the well as a big lizard for a very long time. He told Lord Krishna, in spite of being put into that degraded condition of life, I simply thought of you, my dear Lord, and my memory was never vanquished. It appears from this statement of King Narga that person who follow the principle of fruitive activities and derive some material benefit are not very intelligent. Being given the choice by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, King Narga could have first accepted the result of his pious activities. Instead, he thought it is better first to receive the effect of his impious activities and then enjoy the effects of his pious activities without disturbance. On the whole, he had not developed Krishna consciousness. Krishna conscious person develops love of God. Krishna not love for the pious or impious activities. Therefore, he is not subjected to the result of such action. As stated in Brahma Samhita, a devotee by the grace of the Lord is not subjected to reaction of fruitive activities.
Somehow or other, as a result of his pious activities, King Nriga had aspired to see the Lord. He continued, my dear Lord, I had a great desire that someday I might be able to see you personally. I think that this great desire to see you, combined with my tendency to perform ritualistic and charitable activities, has enabled me to retain the memory of who I was in my former life, even though I became a lizard. Such a person who remembers his past life is called Jadi Smara. In modern times, also, there are instances of small children recalling many details of their past lives. My dear Lord, you are the super soul seated in everyone's heart. There are many great mystic yogis who have the eyes to see you through the Vedas and Upanishads, to achieve the elevated position of realizing that they are equal in equality with you. They always meditate on you within their hearts, but although such exalted saintly persons may see you constantly within their hearts, they still cannot see you face to face. Therefore, I am very much surprised that I am able to see you personally. I know that I was engaged in so many activities, especially as a king. Although I was in the midst of luxury and opulence, I was subject to so much of the happiness and misery of material existence. I am so fortunate to be seeing you personally. As far as I know, when one becomes liberated from material existence, he can see you in this way.
When King Naga elected to receive the result of his impious activities, he was given the body of a lizard because of the mistake in his pious activities. Thus, he could not directly be converted to a higher status of life like a great demigod. However, along with his pious activities, he thought of Krishna, so he was quickly released from the body of a lizard and given the body of a demigod. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, those who desire material opulences are given the bodies of a powerful demigods. Sometimes these demigods can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, but they are still not yet eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the Vaikuntha planets. However, if the demigods continue to be the devotees of the Lord, the next chance they get, they will enter into the Vaikuntha planets.
Hare Krishna. Thus we come to end this weekly Krishna book reading, and we will join with Mataji next year in 2024. So today happens to be the last day. So we will end this with, as usual, Prabhupada Pranam Mantra, and then to each other. So, Vancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Devi Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Disatarini. And to each other, Vancha Kalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Vahevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav ki jai. Hare Bol.